Hi everyone. So I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the older knives in my collection and why I ultimately rejected them for bushcraft use. The first one I want to talk about is my Seal 2000 knife made by SOG. Okay, so for the weigh-in, with sheath, 1 pound 9 ounces, which is 481 grams. The sheath, 12.6 ounces, 360 grams. Now, different dimensions. So the overall length is 12.4 inches, which is 31 centimeters. Blade length is 7 inches and 18 centimeters. And so the blade about 1/4 of an inch thick and 5mm. Okay, let's try the paper test. Now, to be honest, this isn't going to be really a very fair test because it's not the factory edge that's on here. Obviously, because I've been using this quite a lot, or have used this quite a lot in the past. But it does hold an edge very, very well, and I just touched it up with my DC4. So hopefully it should be pretty good. And if it isn't, it's going to be down to user error rather than any defect in the blade. Yeah, it's not bad actually. It just goes to show you that that's what it's like after it's been manually touched up. And that was just a quick touch up with the diamond side of my DC4. You know, if I took a bit more time, was a bit more careful with it, I'd get it shaving sharp again, no problem at all. But this OZ6 really does, it holds an edge very, very well. I think I sharpened this maybe 4 times over the year it was my main user. You can see the edge in the blade there. Hopefully you can make it out in the camera. There's no real rolling. There's a little bit of a nick right there. I don't think the camera's going to make it out, but it's very, very small, and it's to be expected because I really did abuse this blade. Something terrible. The paracord test. Nope. Doesn't work with the push cut. Let's try it with the slicer. And like I said, I think that's mainly due to it's not as sharp as it could be. When it had the factory edge, it was very sharp. There you go, slice, no problem at all. Let's just try push cut on the different part of the blade. Nope, not happening. Okay. Some feathering. It's not great, mostly because the blade's so heavy and so long it's very difficult to do sort of controlled carving with it. Certainly I find that anyway. Yeah. But then again, like, it's not really designed to be a bushcraft knife, so. Let's talk a little bit about the knife. Now, this one is the older generation one. I bought this about 5 years ago. The current generation one has a couple of slight differences, mostly superficial, but you know, they are there. On this one, the blade is made from AUS 6 and is made in Japan. On the current generation one, the blade is made from AUS 8 and is made in Taiwan. The current generation one also has an extended glass breaking pommel, which this one doesn't have. Other than that, the differences are pretty superficial. Both the AUS 6 and the AUS 8 is hardened to between 56 and 58 HRC, so pretty good steel. The edge retention is absolutely fantastic. I think in the year that this was my main user, I think I sharpened this maybe 3 or 4 times, and that was all that was necessary. Obviously, because we have these serrations on the blade, it's a real pain in the arse to sharpen otherwise. But most of the time I just touch it up with my DC4, and it's fine. The tip is still absolutely brilliant. You know, that should have broken off by now, by all rights, because I've given this knife some serious abuse. As you can see, the powder coating started to come away, and that's mostly through serious batoning that I've put it through. But yeah, there's no real rolling on the edges. There's a slight nick here which I need to take out. But other than that, it really does hold up to a remarkable amount of abuse. You know, the SOG blades are exceptional quality. The handle itself is made from Zytel. It's a very hard plastic composite. Again, in this one, the differences are between this and the current generation. The current generation has deeper finger grooves. I actually prefer this style personally. It's the shallower style. I find them more comfortable. But yeah, it's very comfortable. There aren't any real hot spots because it's nice and smooth, and the finger grooves, I guess you call them, are pretty shallow. You have a finger guard here, but it's not too long and not too uncomfortable. Good ramp, I guess you'd call it, a good ramp on the back of the guard here, which is nice for doing your power cuts. You've got a small choil here as well. Pretty good for doing your power cuts, but I personally find that this one is too big and too unwieldy for carving jobs. But if you've got a bigger hand, you may find it more comfortable. Standard lanyard hole at the back. Other than that, good all-round knife. I mean, it's designed to be a combat knife or a fighting knife, if you like. It's not a real good bushcraft knife. But with that said, it's designed to take some serious abuse. So as a survival knife, it will actually do the job quite well. Now the sheath is made from Kydex. Now, at the time, this was the only sheath available. Now you can get one made of nylon, similar to the Seal Pup, which actually I prefer. But like I said, at the time, this was the only one you could get. It's pretty good quality, very sturdy. The belt clip attachment here isn't as solid as I would like it to be. But, you know, it hasn't broken on me yet, so it's starting to lose its shape a little, but it hasn't broken. Yeah, so you have a sliding buckle on the back. The retention is absolutely fantastic. Slots in there, so you don't really need this extra clip here, because the retention is really, really good. But yeah, I'm not real crazy about the design of it. It strikes me more as a diver's scabbard. And the first thing I did actually was when I got this was I went out and got my friend Nigel over at Bear & Co to make me a a new custom leather sheath, but maybe I'll save that for a different review. One feature I do like about this, which for some reason they got rid of in the current generation, is they have a little section cut out of the sheath which exposes the blade, so you can cut rope or cordage or whatever without having to remove the knife from the sheath, which I think is a really good idea. I don't know why they got rid of it, but looking at pictures online it looks like the current generation Kydex sheath doesn't have it, which is a shame. It seemed like a pretty cool idea. But given the choice, I would definitely go with the nylon sheath now, just because it seems to have more practical use. You know, obviously this is designed to be a marine fighting combat knife, so they chose a steel that's got good corrosion resistance and a scabbard that can be used in damp and wet environments. You know, a lot of the other SOG knives, they come with nice leather sheaths, but yeah, I guess it's functional, but personally I think it's pretty ugly, and doesn't really go with all my other gear, all my leather gear and things like that, so it looks a bit silly hanging off of my leather belt. But, you know, there you go. That's just my opinion. You might think it looks cool. So as you can see, it's perfectly possible to batten with the Seal 2000. The serrations there do cause it to stick sometimes, and the overall shape of the blade, the wedge, is not really suited for splitting, but it is perfectly capable of doing the job. So I actually do like that knife quite a lot. It was my main user for about a year, but in the end I stopped carrying it because it was just too long and too heavy for what I needed it to do. It's not a slight on the knife at all, it's very, very well made. You know, SOG make fantastic blades, it just wasn't suitable for the purpose that I was looking for. Well, I hope you found this useful. As always, any questions, queries or problems, feel free to drop me a line. Cheers.